how would you differentiate how Atlanta Magazine covers its topics? And I guess this kind of goes into kind of letting folks know things that you don't cover.
It needs to be things that will appeal to a wide audience in Atlanta, something that would appeal to Atlantans and that has some sort of a hook or a peg.
This week's edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight is brought to you by Leff Atlanta Media, Atlanta's best journalist database. Subscribe at leffatlantamedia.com. Welcome, folks, to the next episode, the next edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight, where we talk with a different journalist from Metro Atlanta or North Georgia each week, every other week, sometimes every other week, sometimes twice a month. That's every other week, twice a month, right? Today, we are talking with Allison Entrekin with Atlanta Magazine. Good morning, Allison.
Good morning. How are you, Mitch?
I'm good. It's getting a little rain this week, so it's a beautiful day. My grass is enjoying that. That's a good thing. We keep having these conversations about rain is not a bad thing, right? It's a good thing.
Brings down the pollen.
Oh God, yes. I'm still dealing with that. So Allison, you have a new job. You are now the editor-in-chief of Atlanta Magazine. Is that the correct title? Did I get that right?
You got that right. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, so I want to talk a little bit first about the magazine, and then we'll come back to kind of your background and kind of your path to the editor-in-chief role. But tell us first, what is Atlanta Magazine and what does it focus on?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Absolutely.
I've been watching these from afar, so it's fun to be a part of it with you. Atlanta Magazine is the city's premier magazine. We've been around for 65 years this May. So we began in May of 1961. And we are a print publication with a digital space that we have as well, but we do publish monthly, and we're very, very proud of that. And so you can find us on newsstands around the city. We cover everything about the city, from news and politics to food to fashion, arts, and culture.
All right, Mitch here with a little reminder to subscribe today to our Leff Atlanta Media database, the best database of Atlanta media. You get to search all the media in town, get to look at their beats, get the contact information, get to know what they like. You also get our great PR guidelines. You learn how to do PR. You get our media blog, Mitch's Media Musings, and you get to see our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight. So subscribe today.
It's probably worth mentioning that you have some sister publications too. I'm going to probably talk to your publisher in a couple of weeks, and he can get into all that. But I think it's worth mentioning kind of what the sister publications are.
Oh, yeah. And that's my background. So prior to this role, I was an editor, executive editor, and then features editor for Southbound Magazine, which is our travel ancillary. And that comes out quarterly, and it covers all things Southern travel. Then we have Georgia Biz, which my colleague Jennifer Franklin is the editor-in-chief of that obviously covers business stories throughout the state. We have Georgia Design, which Fran Worrell is the editor of, and that is just a gorgeous shelter publication talking about incredible homes and designers all across the state of Georgia, and then in some like vacation communities nearby, 30A and so forth. And I mean, we do then our custom publishing division is so huge and big and busy, and they probably, I don't want to butcher, but I want to say dozens of titles a year they publish for third-party clients. And so they're doing a lot of stuff people don't even realize, visitors guides and just cool things like Savor, which is our culinary publication. So we've got a lot that comes out of here. Atlanta Magazine, everybody knows, but there's quite a few others that people may not be aware come from our office.
Yeah, and I'm going to have Sean on today. And at some point, when I snag out time on his schedule, and we're gonna kind of get deeper into into all that, but I wanted to just kind of mention that, but I want us to kind of focus on the Atlanta magazine part of
Yeah,
it.
sure.
And I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't kind of note the passing of one of your longtime editor, Lee Walburn,
Yeah.
who passed away recently. There's been some great things written. Scott Freeman wrote a great piece on his background, and Lee was a great guy, and I had the opportunity to work with him a little bit in my younger years. Um, I think the favorite thing that I learned from that was he actually hit the first home run when the
Yeah.
Braves moved to Atlanta, which I'm sure, as the Braves PR guy, which I'm sure the Braves folks were like, wait a minute, we would have rather had a Braves player actually do that, not the PR
Right.
guy do
Right.
that. But it's a great story.
Yeah, Lee was a legend, and we actually, in the first print issue, we could do a tribute to him just based on our time. Our print timeline is our June issue, so you'll see in the print publication Tom Janot, who most people are very familiar with. He's, two-time National Magazine Award winner. Well, Lee discovered him and brought him onto Atlanta Magazine, and so Tom's in the middle of this very busy whirlwind book tour, but he stopped everything and wrote a gorgeous tribute piece that's going to be in our June issue for Lee. So please check that out when it's on stands.
Yeah, and that obviously hits newsstands probably in early June sometime. Is that usually kind of when it hits?
Yeah, or early June, late May too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And so, which is a good kind of segue to, as a monthly publication, obviously you've got some longer lead times than a
Yeah.
daily newspaper or a weekly newspaper. So talk us through kind of the process. How far in advance are you thinking about, let's say, a June issue? When do you start thinking, planning, writing for that issue?
Well, to give you a good sense, I just finished up a meeting with my editorial team, and we went through, we're in the middle of producing July now. So today that we're recording, we're end of April. We are, really just putting the final touches on July. We have most of August pretty much planned. And then we're still accepting pitches for a little bit of August, but a lot of September and beyond.
Okay.
So and that's pretty standard for where we are.
Yeah.
So here we are in April. Let's get some pitches for September.
So 5-6 months ahead, kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've always told folks with, for Atlanta Magazine, I've always said, 6 months ahead, 8 months ahead is usually kind of my thinking. I'd rather, people have heard me say this before, I'd much rather be early than late.
Yeah.
I'd much rather, call you and say, hey, I've got a story for your December issue. And you say, we're not even thinking about December yet. Call me back in 2 months. And then I make a little note on my calendar and, call back in 2 months.
Yeah.
But we've all had times where, you call and say, hey, I'd love to get something in your July issue. That's months away. And you're like, yeah, we just put that to bed, a month and a half ago. We're done with that.
Right.
So,
now, of course, we have digital coverage where if it's something that can live on the digital space, then that allows us a lot more latitude with time. But even so, I mean, I will say sometimes we get pitches like, hey, can you cover something tonight? And that's tricky. We're not, we're nimble, but that's putting us really to the test. So
that's tough for anybody.
Yeah.
I try not to call anybody and say, yeah, this is the first time telling you about this event tonight. Unless it's something that I heard about 5 minutes ago. But usually folks have a little more heads up on it.
Right.
So I know you've got a little bit kind of editorial direction for the digital versus print editions. Do you want to talk about kind of who runs each of those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the print team is Deputy Editor Rachel Garbus. She heads up our connector section, which connector is really focused on news, politics, things that are timely. It can also be a place, we have our field notes section, so it could just be something newsy, not necessarily hard news, but newsy that's opening or would be interesting to put up front in the book. Then we have our senior editor, Xavier Stevens. He heads up our Scout section for print, and that's going to be fashion, culture, arts, that sort of thing, agenda items. And our dining editor is Vinay Franco. She covers our bite section. So that's going to be all things food related, dining trends, chef profiles, restaurant reviews, new restaurants. And then over on the digital side, we have Meredith Wells, who is our digital director, and she's the one doing all the assigning. She has her own team of people who cover every subject I just mentioned for digital only stories. And those digital only stories we push out obviously on social and in our newsletter.
I think I did something a couple weeks ago with a writer who is doing something World Cup related.
Yeah, and that is something we're very big on. We just finished our June issue, which has a big feature on the World Cup, and then on the digital space, we are very much sending people out all over town to cover all sorts of angles. That are even World Cup related. So, for example, it could be most Instagrammable spots downtown. Well, that's something if people are downtown for the World Cup, especially if they're coming in from out of town, they want to know where should we go take our picture while we're here. So
there's that bridge on I-20, right? Now where's it I-20? What is it, Jackson Street? There's that bridge where you can see the skyline.
Yes. So people want to know while we're here, how do we prove we were here? What are the spots? Where do we go? So
you climb Stone Mountain, right? Climb up to the top and Stone.
Yeah, there's a spot too. I'm not the one writing this story, but definitely. But it's funny because it's just when you think World Cup stories, some are nuts and bolts World Cup, how to get tickets, what do you do? And others are just related in some way. And so we're very much in process of assigning a ton of those stories out.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I am on World Cup. My stuff, my client stuff is not the who's playing in this match. Here's how you get tickets to this match at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's here's something else that's going on around World Cup. Here's place to stay, place to go see it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
How would you? And I think this is important. How would you differentiate how Atlanta Magazine covers its topics versus other things? And I guess this kind of goes into kind of letting folks know things that you don't cover or don't want to cover. Because I always like to kind of lessen your inbox a little bit if I can. Right?
Yeah.
So people will hear this and go, oh, okay, I didn't realize that this isn't really their thing. I just thought anything happening in Atlanta, I can send to Atlanta Magazine.
Right. Well, obviously for a print publication, we've got the lead time. That's going to be a big, that weeds out a lot because it has to be things that we know about 6 months in advance. Also, it needs to be things that will appeal to a wide audience in Atlanta. So sometimes we get really niche pitches that might be better for like a business, maybe a Georgia Biz. I can't tell you how many pitches I forward over to Jennifer Franklin for Georgia Biz, or maybe it's a travel story, but it doesn't really fit in our coverage. So I'll send that to Southbound. But something that would appeal to Atlantans and that has some sort of a hook or a peg. Why cover it now? If it's been around for a while, if it's not new, why is now a good time to cover it? What makes it special, and why does it? It's so helpful to me if the research has been done by the person pitching as to where it should live in the magazine. And like all magazines, the best place to break in or get something in is going to be front of book. Features are just so challenging, but I still get, it's funny, I get pitches, this should be on your cover, and that's extremely tough sell, and pretty much what he's looking for. So
our clients are we'll get clients saying, oh yeah, I think this is a great story for the front of the life section of USA Today. I'm like, I'm sure you think it is.
Right. Or I get a lot of I have a heart for authors because I myself am an author, but I wrote a book. I want you to write about my book, so it's like, well, why? What are you doing? What's different in the space? How are you promoting it? I would say those those are ones where you have to do a little extra work. Just the fact you live in Atlanta and self-published a book, which I have done. Again, I think it's awesome, but there's got to be a little bit more as to why it should get some coverage and some promotion in the magazine.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's, like you said, there's 1,000 people who write books about this aspect of Atlanta or that aspect of Atlanta. And, is it new? Is it different? Is it a different take on it? Is it something underreported, or, a murder case that no one ever thought of? There was someone I interviewed last year who did a podcast about a bank robbery in Marietta, where these guys had like tunneled under the street and up into the bank, and it was like 50 years ago, and it was and never solved exactly, kind of thing. And it's just kind of one of those kind of interesting kind of stories. It's I have a client who, it's a local municipality, and there's a urban legend that there's a bank vault that's been lost somewhere under the city square, and no one is quite sure where it is, but they think it's here somewhere, and they have no idea what's in the vault, but maybe there's money in it.
Huh.
Maybe it's a Geraldo Rivera moment. Yeah, maybe it's a Geraldo Rivera moment where they open it and there's nothing, but they don't really know where the vault is.
Huh.
It's like an urban legend. It's like there's a vault here somewhere from the First National Bank, and there's been so much development. We're not quite sure where it is anymore, but it's just, every once in a while I'll think about it. I'll ask him. I was like, anybody ever got into that, or you guys doing construction? Did you find the vault, or that kind of thing? Yeah,
that's an interesting story.
Yeah, that'd be fun if they actually figured out where the vault is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or if they went looking for it, right? If they had like, metal detectors or whatever, some sort of ground detection things, and they were walking around the city square going, okay, it's not here, it's not here, it's not here. That would be that. Maybe I'll suggest that. That would be fun.
Yeah. Do it.
So what in your mind, what makes a story? Somebody comes to you and says, "I got this idea," and you say, "That's an Atlanta magazine story."
That's a great question. I mean, I think it has to be very grounded in the city. It needs to have a really compelling, timely hook that also times with our production schedule. And it needs to be covered in a way that not everyone else is covering it to death already. So those would be the three elements, I would say. And we really like to weave in personalities and profiles into our stories. So if there's like a person who's representative or emblematic of a trend or a business or something where we can get the human interest in it. I mean, we are a magazine that runs, because of our print schedule, we're not doing breaking news. We're adding more of the, like, what lies beneath some of the breaking news stories. How can we go a little bit deeper, and how can we tell the human interest angles behind them?
Yeah, and that's what I've always loved about the magazine stories, is it is that depth to it.
Yeah.
It's not a 80-second TV story. It's not a 50 column inches newspaper story. It's depth. It's for someone who's going to take more than 3 minutes to sit and read a story and get into a little bit more.
Well, and I'm so proud that we still publish long form features. I mean, it's a dying art, but it's one that we love, and that it's not dying over here. We're very much believers in that there is a readership that wants to read some excellent quality writing in long form. So that happens in our features.
Yeah, and obviously there's still an audience for it, and there's still a hunger for it, because you're still publishing after how many years?
65
years. Yeah. So that's kind of proof that, yes, people, it's not dead yet, right? There's still a lot of people who like it, who want it, who are looking for that kind of depth. And I think there's room for both. I mean, yes, there are some times when I need to get my basic news in 10 minutes, but if I want to get deep into something, then there's a time for that too. So it's not necessarily can't do this if we do this. I think we can do both.
Right.
Are there some topics that you're kind of looking at or following in Atlanta that you're following or you want to keep following, or kind of that it's kind of on your radar without giving away any secrets about stories that are upcoming?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, our readers are so clear. They love our dining coverage. That's both on the digital space and in print. So we are going to continue to double down on all dining news stories, all new, we're really, I can go ahead and tell you we were updating our 75 best restaurants list online, which is just a perennial slam dunk. And so that's going to be, we're going to have a good refresh of that next week. We are just putting a lot of time and energy into dining and food, because people love it. We love it. We obviously, as I mentioned, are covering all things World Cup. We're very much still working on new assignments for that in the digital space. August is our travel issue. So travel is a focus for us right now that we're thinking a lot about. And we also are looking ahead. I know you've been in the midst of all the debates with the gubernatorial race and candidates and platforms, and honing in on covering that as well. It's going to be a big story here in Georgia. We'll be covering that both online and in print. And so those are some of the stories that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, our team just finished 3 days of working with the press club, the Atlanta Press Club, on their primary debates, 18 debates in 3 days. So that was a lot, but everything went smoothly, and none of the candidates came to blows, at least not physically. So there's some good conversations, which is good. There's a lot of points to be made. Whether some of them are good points or not is up for debate, which is why we have debates.
Right.
But okay, that's good. That's good. So I always kind of it's interesting. When I read the magazine, there's some topics, some stories I look at. It's like, okay, that's a story I would expect to see in Atlanta magazine. And then sometimes I'll read a story and it's like, oh, that's cool, but it wasn't a story I expected to see in Atlanta magazine, which is good too. So it's just kind of a reminder for me that there's that you are looking for those kind of cool, different, cultural kinds of interesting stories. And I have been pitching stories to Atlanta magazine for a long time. Okay, 30 35 years or so, and so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it's my client's fault because they gave me a week's notice and said, hey, we'd be great if this was in the next issue. That's why I always say, if you want to come to us 6 or 8 months ahead of time, then maybe we can get you in Atlanta magazine. But if you come to us 2 weeks before, then probably not.
Well, I will say one thing I didn't mention that we are looking for currently also is gallery exhibits with local artists. So any galleries who especially have a pretty long lead time on their event schedule and have some local artists that they're going to be exhibiting, we'd love to know about that too.
Okay, that's good. All right, let's jump to the fun crazy section now. This is
ready.
Sometimes this is the hardest. So this next question is the hard question that always sometimes stumps people. But what is the coolest thing about Allison that people might not know?
What's my party trick?
What's your party trick?
I've got two things. One is kind of boring, but I have hitchhiker thumbs. So they go flat. But a lot of people have that.
So if you're watching this and if you're listening on audio, you need to go to the YouTube channel and see, because what Allison just did, because I'm doing it at the same time, and it's totally different.
Yeah, I can completely bend them.
Oh wow! Okay.
I mean, go on YouTube. You've got to see this. The other thing is, and this is a true fact, Mitch, Leff, is that I am 11 years old. I was born on leap year. So I will turn 12 in 2028. But for now, I am 11, and I get a birthday once every 4 years. I'm one of those rare people, and that's my little fun fact party trick.
So you're never going to get into ARP. You're never going to get senior discounts.
My teenage kids are now older than me. They love that. So
But
yeah,
you can always get the under 14 discount at restaurants, right?
you know what? I need to be working that harder, honestly.
You should do that. Said I want the under 12 discount. Like, ma'am,
Yeah,
you're not under. Look at my license. Here's my
yeah, just
birthday.
stone
I
face. Just be
yeah.
like,
Bring your
what don't you?
manager out. Bring out the manager if you want. I will argue this to the end of the meal. I deserve this discount.
Oh my gosh.
Free ice cream. I mean, there's restaurants that give free ice cream for, if you're under 12 or whatever after every
I would
meal.
love free ice cream.
Yeah, I mean there you go. All right, so the next couple are a little bit of a lightning round, so we don't have to do long answers. But
Okay.
first one is either one or the other, last book you've read or the last podcast you've listened to. And the book cannot be one. And the book can't be one that you wrote yourself.
Okay, yes. One of the last books I read that I adored was Theo of Golden. Loved that by Alan Levi. He's a Georgia author, and he's kind of going gangbusters with that book. Love that. And I'm in the middle of Lady Tremaine, which tells the story of Cinderella from the perspective of the wicked stepmother. We had the story all wrong.
Some of those, like the whole Wicked series, that I love those stories that are from the other perspective, right?
This one's great.
Yeah. Okay. Let me check that one. Okay. Favorite local restaurant, and this may be hard for you to choose considering your dining coverage.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to say that this opinion is the opinion of Allison Entrekin, not necessarily the opinion of Atlanta Magazine.
There you go.
But I live in Brookhaven, and I love Haven Restaurant in Brookhaven. I love to go there with my husband. We'll grab a seat at the bar. Molly and Britannia are the two bartenders who are there on the weekends. We're buddies with them. I order the salmon every time. It is just a great neighborhood watering hole gathering spot that is excellent food, very consistent, and just it's an easy drive for me, which means I can walk there, which is lovely.
That is a great restaurant. I've had a couple of folks on the podcast tell me that I need to go to Del Bar, which I have not gotten to yet, but I've heard that's really a wonderful place.
Yeah, I went 2 weeks ago. It was good. It was good. Haven's still my favorite though.
Okay. All right. Favorite guilty pleasure.
My once a day Coke Zero, cherry Coke Zero that I have at noon. But I also have been enjoying the FX series Love Story about JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. It takes me right back to my 90s heyday. So that has been a guilty pleasure.
I haven't watched that. My wife watched it and when I was out camping or something. And she said it was really good.
Yeah.
Local getaway. Favorite local getaway.
So when you say local, you mean in Atlanta?
It could be Georgia.
Local getaway in Georgia. I'm going to say I just went to the St. Regis. They had a pool takeover. Etro, the designer, took over their pool. And I was reminded when I was there at this gathering how much I love the St. Regis Atlanta. And they have an awesome spa, great pool. And I thought, I want to stay here and do a fun little overnight and go to the spa and sit by the pool. And it's not far from where I live, but man, it feels like a world away.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite non-work hobby?
I love tennis. I grew up playing tennis. I played tennis in high school, and I still play tennis, and doubles and singles. It's my favorite, great exercise. I will never run faster or harder than if I'm chasing a little yellow ball. So
that's great. Are you on an Alta team or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a woman who goes camping with us who sometimes has to leave a little early to make her Sunday morning Alta matches.
Yeah.
But we give her
It's an addiction. I love it.
Well, is there anything else about the magazine that we haven't talked about that we should mention? I know we talked about the digital versus print. We talked about some of the staff folks who are in charge of different sections. talked about special sections. Let me ask you this one. What are some of your favorite stories over the last year or two that you just loved working with and pulling together?
Well, so I mean, I've just joined Atlanta Magazine in February, so I can't take any credit for this story. But Xavier Stevens has been nominated for a Press Club Award for investigative journalism for his story on what happened after the fires in and now that the name of the apartment complex is leaving me, but right by Cheshire Bridge, they caught fire and what happened to the residents that were displaced, La Vista Walk, I think. That story, he did such a great job researching it. Now this would be, I got to get my predecessor, Scott Freeman. He was the editor-in-chief. He worked with Xavier on that, but it was awesome. So well deserving of this nomination. And we'll find out, I believe next week, if he won, which I think he should, but he's a terrific talent. And I think he put so much into a story that was not being covered as robustly anywhere else.
Shout out to the Atlanta Press Club's Awards of Excellence, which will be Wednesday, May 6th, I believe, in the evening at the gathering spot, I believe is where they are, right?
Right.
I believe that's the location. And I think I'll tell Julia Boyd. Julia Boyd will tell you that probably tickets are still available, right? I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, good. Well, good luck. I will be there to cheer you guys on.
Good.
Thank you, Allison, for taking time with us today. I really appreciate it. As always, if you'd like to see our archive of Journalist Spotlights, go to either YouTube or Apple Podcast, Amazon, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find the audio version. I find that people have their preferences, audio versus video, but check it out either way. And of course, if you're looking for our Leff's Atlanta Media service, where you can get our database of Atlanta media and guidelines for doing PR, and our Mitch's Media Musings newsletter that comes out every month, go to leffsatlantamedia.com and click the subscribe button, and we will get you going there. Thank you, Allison, and thank you, everyone. And we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks so much.